Today, we commemorate our 54th birthday as an independent nation. In boosting the manufacturing sector, my administration will focus on 4 subsectors: the blue economy, agro-processing, leather and textiles. With the blue economy, we have a total of about 400 kilometers of rich coastline and a share of the second largest freshwater lake in the world. Indeed, it is shameful that we exploit only a small fraction of these God-given resources. Our coastal and marine ecosystems, if properly exploited, would create tens of thousands of jobs for our people.
What the government has done is, for the first time, actually dedicated a principal secretary to the work of the blue economy. In addition, the government had established the Blue Economy Committee, which is actually chaired by the Chief of the Defence Forces. And what that committee is supposed to do is to look into ways, means and strategies of being able to accelerate the development of the blue economy and its sustainable exploitation.
The blue economy contributes about 178 billion to the GDP annually. This is because it is not fully exploited. We believe that if we fully exploited the blue economy, we would generate in excess of 430 billion annually to the economy of Kenya. The blue economy cannot prosper without proper security. And that is why the Navy is at the center of the growth of the blue economy.
The presidential directive on the blue economy actually highlights and underscores the mandate of the Kenya Navy, which is the defense and protection of the sovereignty and maritime territorial integrity of Kenya. Our territorial waters is more than 13,000 square kilometers. The exclusive economic zone is more than 120,000 square kilometers. If we include the extended continental shelf, the total sea area is over 240,000 square kilometers.
Maritime security by itself is inherent also in the national security. So our responsibility as an army is to ensure that those safe havens that these criminals are based are destroyed from the land, primarily supporting the efforts of the Kenya Navy.
We complement one another in our roles. The Army, of course, will have a domain on land. The Navy will have a domain at sea. And interesting, it's only the Air Force that has domain in the 3 spheres. We will support the Army on land, we will support the Navy at sea, and we will safeguard the airspace.
In the absence of maritime security, there is no meaningful economic activity or resource that can be exploited from the ocean. In recent past, there has been a lot of exploration of hydrocarbons at sea. Due to the maritime insecurity that has been prevailing in the last few years, the only way they could carry out that was with protection. And therefore the Navy has facilitated by providing vessel protection detachments for the research vessels and for the drilling vessels.
RV Mtafiti is an oceanographic research vessel acquired by the government and entrusted to the Kenya Navy mainly to advance marine scientific research and maritime control and surveillance. Various ministries have used information from this vessel to undertake further exploration on these marine resources.
Kenya had ships and fishing plants in Mombasa and elsewhere, which were up and running in the 70s. It is a pity that we lost all that. It is high time that we make use of the exclusive economic zone to our economic advantage.
Kenya, like many African nations, have not even scratched the surface of the potential that there is there. You cannot further economic development. You cannot really improve the livelihoods of any people anywhere if they don't have peace and security.
The threats to maritime security in our region basically issues of piracy and armed robberies at sea, maritime terrorism, trafficking in narcotic drugs. The other issue is illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. We also have issues of marine pollution, which also affects the ecosystem and also interferes with marine life.
Over the years, the Kenyan Navy has, of course, participated in joint operations that includes Linda Nchi, Maliza Ugaidi, and also our entry into Kisimayu, where we played a very key role when it came to sea lifting our troops, and also our entry into the waters of southern Somalia, which has contributed to the reduction in piracy cases. The Navy has also cooperated and engaged in joint operations with other agencies, that is multi-agency operations, after getting information and intelligence on trafficking of drugs, where we have made intercepts and carried out visit, board, search and seize operations with other agencies, with notable success cases of MV Al Nur in 2014 and also in 2015 with Baby Iris, in which we eventually destroyed the vessel which was carrying the narcotics.
Internationally, Kenya Navy has participated together with other world navies in quite a number of activities. For example, the Cutlass Express that is usually held within the region and which is championed by the US Navy, the Contact Group on Piracy, a UN sanctioned body that was still addressing the issues of piracy and now broader maritime security threats.
What we do in trying to be able to plan and execute some of the operations with our partners out there, we normally have joint training. Sometimes we train together to be able to compare and learn from best practices.
One thing that we sometimes forget is that the Kenyan Navy is playing a critical role in dealing with the threats that we have in the region. The Navy is also a critical force in building up a new generation of Kenyans who are patriotic, who are hardworking, and who have specialized skills.
Sio, sir? My vision now 5 cables to run on this course.
With the recently acquired full mission bridge simulator, the Kenya Naval Training School is now in a unique situation to provide the needed training for not only our personnel in the Kenya Navy and the Kenya Defense Forces, but also to the other stakeholders in the maritime environment. The simulator brings near real situation of whatever the student will be expected to perform once they report in their various places of work. It relieves our operational ships to go out and do operations while we train the students and make them ready. This saves the man hours in terms of the hours that the ship would be spent in training would be spent in operations.
The skills you learn from the Navy, they are pretty unique, and we are delighted that more and more young people want to join the Navy. We're delighted that many of those young people are actually women, and we're seeing many women engaging in the engineering side. So it's a place where young women can grow, can build their talent, and can realize their fullest potential.
Navigators are the eye of the ship. We navigate the ship through territorial waters, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and the ICs.
Our main task at the Maritime Operations Center is to monitor all the ongoing naval operations. Through surveillance, we are able to create a recognizable maritime picture that enhances our maritime domain awareness.
Ensuring proper maintenance of all naval operations, the equipment and systems on board all the ships in the fleet contributes to maritime security.
To surveil and have a clear maritime picture in this maritime domain requires a lot of resources. We need adequate resources to surveil the area and ensure it is secure.
We'll need to do more in terms of having presence in areas that we are not in and ensuring that we have a huge defensive posture along the entire coastline in support of the efforts that the Navy will be undertaking inside the sea.
By exploiting our sea resources, exploiting energy sources, we will develop our country faster. That's why we support fully the blue economy agenda for our country.
The Navy's role is warfighting. I personally believe that the Coast Guard will be a force multiplier for us. The Navy and MOD will work very closely with the Coast Guard to make sure that it succeeds in its mandate. The Navy then will concentrate on looking at the EEZ, while the Coast Guard will concentrate on the territorial waters.
So it's critical for us to ensure that as we try and exploit our blue economy, that we facilitate the security architecture, and particularly the enforcement component of security on our waters. You need to bring a lot of players to the table because it's a multifaceted threat that requires a multifaceted solution.